to the cameras?
Yeah, sure. Good evening. How's it going? Welcome to another episode of the Digital Orthodontist Live, and we have a sun setting right behind us here in lovely San Diego, California. Yeah. I'm your host, Dr. Kyle Fagel. I'm joined here by what I'm calling the busiest man in orthodontics. I just dubbed you, Dr. Glenn Krieger. How are you doing, Glenn?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Kyle. I really appreciate being on here.
I don't feel like we're going to be able to do this without giggling at each other.
I got an aircraft carrier.
Yeah, we got the USS Midway right there. There's a movie that just came out about it. Have you been on the Midway before?
It's about that or the Battle of Midway?
Oh, see, you got me.
I don't know.
I should have researched more.
It's okay.
I thought it was about that, but it turns out I don't actually know what that even is about. But I was on there. There was an AAO party, and we got to go out on the Midway. Hey, there's people out there. What's up, Mary? How are you? What's up, Tim? So tonight, we're going to discuss the following. What it's like inside the mind of a GP. Haven't you always wondered? Who's to blame for the rise of DTC and DSOs? Don't sleep on airway orthodontics. Don't you like that?
That's good. That's really funny.
It's not bad. And then the criminal nature of dental school debt, and of course, much more, because there's always much more. But first, we're going to play the theme song. All right, play that out on my iPad. Now, when I picked this theme song, I never knew I was going to hear it so much. There you go. That's right. It's got a little bit of like a Smothers Brothers vibe to it or something. I don't know. So if you follow the show, you probably know that I've not been doing this for the last couple months. Most of the reason was Facebook. They took away two-person live streaming, so I can't do it from my house anymore. But I honestly think this is a good thing because we'll now do these live in-person interviews, and I think they're better when we're physically touching.
Is watching.
There we go. Hey, Hilton.
I like the way South Africans say my name.
I like the way South Africans say everything.
Glenn.
Yeah. So Hilton, you're out there. How bad was Leonardo DiCaprio's South African accent in Blood Diamond? Because it seemed like it wasn't good. So we'll say Derek Bach is watching. How about that? Hey, Derek. So Glenn and I are here in San Diego. You might be wondering, well, why are you in San Diego? Yeah, touch my face. Do you mind? Okay.
I did it.
We're at a course that Ron Ronconi is giving, so probably I should have had Ron on the show. You know, why didn't I do that?
You should have.
Yeah, but
should have.
Here I am with Glenn Krieger.
I can get Ron.
No, don't get Ron.
It's okay.
We're going to do a drinking game tonight. We've never done that, so I don't have my coffee mug. I'm drinking out of the free tall Pepsis, and we got some Sierra Mist that Glenn's got. This is not an advertisement or anything. We have a live studio audience. We have John Graham, Doug Shaw. It's exciting. It's a little bright. Yeah,
we tried to turn the sun off.
But we're going to do a drinking game. So is there a word, you work, Doug, with Glenn, is there a word he says all the time?
I don't know if it's appropriate for the camera.
Okay, well then we're not going to say that word. Is it?
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal. All right, phenomenal is the word. So anytime you hear the word phenomenal, as we just did, you need to take a drink. So if it's Coke, it's water. If it's an adult beverage, you take a drink. Okay, so phenomenal. All right.
That tasted phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm gonna block the sun. Here we go.
You had to drink
there
it again because it.
Oh, because you said it again. Okay, I'll drink it in a second. Let me read your bio. We'll jump into some questions. I think I've lost the whole audience. It's not donut juice, no. Dr. Glenn Krieger was a cosmetic and restorative dentist for 20 years before returning to school to become an orthodontist at the ripe old age of 44. Glenn has been an international lecturer on the topics of case presentation, clinical photography, and interdisciplinary treatment planning, and water polo, not the last. He started the nearly 4,600-member Facebook group OrthoPreneurs. Do you remember when?
January of 2017.
Correct.
I would say January.
Well, we don't know the exact day.
Okay,
It's like 7th or 11th or something. But
some
yes,
of us try to be accurate.
Way back then. Some of us are trying to be accurate. Which has grown to include an annual meeting, a geographically exclusive group called OrthoPreneurs RD, which is why we're here, a blog and a podcast, and I'm sure much more to come. Dr. Krieger's mission is to foster an environment where we can all learn from one another in a safe, enjoyable environment. That sound good?
Sounds amazing.
That was a good bio.
That's beautiful.
So I'm excited to have Glenn on the show.
I'm excited to be here.
Glenn's a good friend. We go back pretty far, and let's talk about that. Let's talk a little bit about you, my favorite topic. We met each other pretty early on in our careers. I don't know how long you'd been out, but it was a tryout for 3M Oral Care.
It was.
I got the job, and
I was off.
You're right. Well, okay, we won't go.
They said they had another guy, but
they had another guy
after me.
Yeah.
Oh, that was you?
That was me.
Man.
But no, we were speaking together,
Very nice.
and the night before the tryout, we got together at the hotel and talked.
Me, you, and Mark Klaus.
Actually, Mark Kazi.
Mark Kazi, yeah.
Makazi. You said it like it's an Italian word. Here we are.
Makazi.
Look at these young gentlemen.
Yes, we got to see the World of Wonder.
We got to see the World of Wonder.
Nobody gets to see the World of Wonder.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
Biometrics.
That's right. So how long did it take you to know that we were going to be best friends?
The second I saw you across that crowded room.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, the second. Actually, you started, if I remember correctly, we were like grouped in this room with all these 3M execs, like high-level execs, and it was kind of weird because we were giving like full presentations to like 4 people.
It was a little bit of a small room. Maybe there were 10.
And I saw you speak. I was like, who is this guy? He's like, he's on point with his message. His stuff is awesome. And I was like, stuff I hadn't heard before. And we just sat down. I think we were at the airport afterwards, right?
Yeah, something like that.
And we just sitting chatting. And I said, good guy.
Yeah, good guy.
Crowd response is amazing.
I know the crowd response. They're going wild here.
They are.
All 2 of them.
It's the battle. It's the midway.
Can you guys keep it down over there?
Hey, John. Doug. We're recording here.
Yeah, we're recording. This is a live broadcast. No, we're just kidding. This is John Graham. No, we're kidding. Hey, and it's Jason Kaplan. The light. It's getting better. So you were pretty fresh out of residency at the point, right? You went to, where'd you go to school?
I went to the SUNY Buffalo Dental School, University of Buffalo School of Dental Medicine.
Right.
Did Binghamton for my undergraduate, Buffalo for dental school, and then back to the Nova Southeastern University.
Nice. So I guess the big question I have about that time, because as I met you, obviously real impressive guy. I remember actually talking to my wife that night and saying, met a really funny guy. Mark's a great guy too, who's there with us. But did you know at that point that all this, the group, the podcast, everything that you do, did you know that that's what you wanted? Was that your goal then? No?
I had no desire.
Okay.
You can leave that right there, Doug. Thank you.
Because I know you had spoken a lot. You'd spoken hundreds of times at dental, but is that kind of what your mindset was? Well, I guess I'll speak in ortho. No.
As a matter of fact, when I traveled the country for like 15 years doing clinical photography, case presentation, treatment planning for GPs and restorative docs. And when I went back to ortho, I swore I'd never do it again. I was done. I had young kids at home way back when. Traveling was horrible. You know what it's like. You travel a lot with young kids. And I said, you know what? I'm going to focus on being the best orthodontist I can be. I met Doug Shaw at residency. We decided we'd work together and just became best friends and just started working. And the goal to do anything was never there. And then Ortho 101 was around. And I decided, when I left residency, the weird part for me was being 47 when I got out with 31-year-olds who were getting out at the same time, who were like $800,000 in debt and had no idea how to find an accountant, no idea how to find an attorney. And I know it's a topic you want to get on later on about, my views on what dental education is like right now, but I couldn't understand how people could go through, get all this debt and not know these answers. And so on Ortho 101, I was pretty active as a moderator, just sort of answering questions and stuff. And then one day when that infamous explosion occurred, I had said to somebody, hey, maybe we should start a group. And I started OrthoPreneurs on a lark. And the next day I woke up, I had 650 people in the group. And just trying my best to try to help anybody I can.
Yeah. That was, I think anybody that was really active in these groups remembers that distinctly, right?
Oh, gosh.
It was a big day. There was like 5 groups that started, I think, within 24 hours.
Yeah, it was the same day. It was Ortho Pearls. Brian started Ortho Pearls. And Jason Battle
Club Ortho
started Club Ortho. Is it Club Ortho? Yeah.
Ortho Club Ortho.
Yeah, it was Club Ortho.
I think there was also Millennium Orthodontics that was started around the same time.
Yeah, there were a bunch that went on at the same time.
Francesco did that. If anyone remembers another group that was starting, what are you talking about?
Digital Ortho.
No, the Digital Ortho started after that. So you didn't know that's what you wanted, but you've kind of eased into that. We'll get into this next question, which kind of gets it. I think the biggest question I have for you, Julie Yeomans asked this. She's in the group. She said, how does Glenn do so much and always authentically seem happy and balanced? First question that I had when I wanted to do this interview with you was is that I get accused of doing too much. I'm sure a lot of us do as orthodontists. But I mean, I can't keep up with you. You've got 2 groups that you regularly post and you're very active in. You've got a meeting, you've got a podcast, a blog, you do all these RD events, you've got a multi-location practice, you have a family that seems to be happy, you go on vacations with Israel. Yeah, how do you get so much done? Walk us through that.
Every second matters, every second matters. I think one thing we tend to do a lot is look off into the distance and wonder what's going to happen a month from now, a week from now. And my therapist tells me I have a superpower, and it's that I can compartmentalize. I didn't realize it, but apparently not everybody does it. I compartmentalize my life in a way that what happened 5 minutes ago doesn't matter. And I can turn it off and be right in the moment. When I'm with friends, I'm right here. When I'm with my family, I'm with my family. And I have an amazing partner, a phenomenal partner, if you will.
He is phenomenal.
He is a phenomenal partner. Douglas Shaw is the greatest partner anybody could ever hope for. He helps run, we have 3 practices, and he and I just have our skill set dovetails really well, and it works. And I just tell everybody out there, You can have fun, you can chill, you can watch TV, Netflix, whatever, but when I'm with somebody, I'm just with them. When I'm with a task, I'm with it, and finishing things makes me happy, and I have purpose.
So, I feel like I share some of those elements, but I still don't know that I get as much done as you do. You were telling someone earlier when we were at lunch about you think you probably work about 75 hours a week. What is your morning like? What is your night like? When do you get your work done?
Every morning, except Saturdays. Saturday's my Sabbath. I wake up, go to synagogue, take my son with me, and spend the day doing that kind of stuff, spiritual. Which is kind of a side note that most people don't know is that typically in my life, from Friday night, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock when sundown happens until Saturday night, an hour after sundown, phone gets turned off, put down, computer's turned off, TV's off. I'm with family, and so maybe that's the reason why I'm so productive is because one day a week, 25 hours when I'm at home, there is no digital media of any kind whatsoever for me or my wife. We are there connected with the kids and the family. My dated, and I know for many people out there, they say, "Oh, I wish I could do that," and everybody can. It's tough, right? But my daily routine: wake up at 5:15, nothing fancy, work out. I have a gym at home. I have for 20 years. Work out for 45 minutes, shower, get to work, do my thing, come home, see the family, repeat.
Yeah, you make it sound like it's not very magical. I think the aspect of your personality that allows you to bounce from one to the next and not get too held up with it is huge. I would venture to say that most orthodontists have a perfectionistic mindset that allows us to only get so much done. We either never are willing to get it off the ground at all because we're afraid that it won't be perfect, which I heard some people communicating about earlier today. I'm that way. Yeah. Or just the anxiety over it not being perfect keeps us from even attempting, perhaps.
Chris Chang had Chris Chang has this great line in his lecture from Steve Jobs, I think, and he says, "Great artists ship." That when things get good enough that everybody will enjoy it, let it go, and move on to the next thing. And it's just been my nature is get it not just good enough where it's like junk, but get it good enough to where you're comfortable letting it go, and then let it go.
Yeah. Is that something you've always been good at, or is that something that's natural to you? Yeah, you never really struggled with that.
I never. The details matter. And I need to deal with the details. But once you get the details covered, obsessing on that last 1% that isn't going to make any difference is only going to drive you to heartache. And ortho is tough because most orthodontists are not wired that way.
Right.
And I'm not saying let crap go.
Right.
But, I think the other thing is really delegation.
Okay.
Like I've got Mike Vidikin, who's my right hand at OrthoPreneurs. I come up with the vision, I come up with the idea, here's what I want, Mike, take it. And I let him have it. Then he comes back to me, I've learned to say, you know what you did was awesome. I can live with this. Same thing with my team. I think a lot of us, we have ideas of what we want, and we give it off to our team, and it comes back, and we're like really quick to say, no.
It's not good enough. Yeah. Oh no, I was agreeing with you. It's not good. Oh no.
Interview's done. We're finished. That's it.
We're turning this off. No, I was saying, I think we're very quick to criticize little bits that are wrong. I always tell people that if I did something and I could criticize myself, I would. I would always be unhappy with some element of anything that was ever done.
And we can tear apart the little details, but it's so empowering to the people around us. Eddie Coleman had a great one. He says, good enough and done and out is better than perfect.
Right.
And sometimes you need perfect, right? There are things that have to be perfect.
Yep.
But understanding what doesn't have to be perfect to work beautifully, it could be really, really good. And again, my team, when I stopped saying to my team, no, that's not good enough. All of a sudden, when I empowered them and said, hey, what's your idea? Let's go with it. Yeah, that's really good. What do you think if we add this? And knowing full well that they said no, I'm like, okay, cool. Let's go with this. And it's a struggle for me. My biggest weakness is impulsivity, which is also my biggest strength.
Right.
Something comes up and I'm like, let's go do that. Hey, let's have a meeting.
Yeah.
And can I digress for a second?
Sure.
All right.
I expected some level of digression tonight.
I can tell you when we first had our first OrthoPreneurs Summit in 2018, we did it at the Dallas Cowboys place.
Did you see that?
I did.
That's pretty funny. Eric, that's pretty funny.
Eric, that was good.
You get the laugh of the night.
Yeah.
I didn't say that I was good about it. I'm asking him how I can get better about it.
It was great. Notice I'm just hanging out here. So when we had our first summit, what most people don't know is when you run a meeting that's big, you're on the hook for the hotel rooms.
Right.
So I remember telling Doug, my partner, hey, we're going to, and by the way, Doug's my partner in everything we do financially. He's my partner in Summit, he's my partner in RD, he's my partner in everything, because, teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah.
So we were sitting downstairs in the restaurant at the Omni Frisco, where the first meeting was, right after we signed the contract, for like $250,000 in rooms. And like our practices were 2 years old, we didn't have the money to cover it, and Doug is like, how can you possibly be worried about this? Yeah, how can you do this? I'm so worried. And I was like, it's going to work out, dude. It's going to work out. And that's been like my thing, is always it's like measured optimism. Like, when you're taking a risk you shouldn't, when you're taking a risk you should. And the Summit just felt that good to me. And that's been something that's taken me a while to evolve into, is make a choice, make it good enough, and get it out and do it. And it's been fun.
I like it. I mean, I lecture on this idea from a social media perspective, this idea that 1 is greater than 0. Gary Vaynerchuk talks about that. I think it's the same idea. It's just tough for me. I don't know how to do it. So the one thing I feel
you don't
like...
know how to do it yet.
Well, no, I mean,
You will.
fair enough. I was interested to find that you've never really struggled with that. So lately, January, February, I feel like I've not been super productive. I mean, practice has been good, family's been good. I mean, things are balanced. We're growing at the rate we want. We're hitting our goals. But outside of that, I've just felt very just blah. And I've talked to a few friends, and I don't know if it's seasonal depression. It's felt like Portland and Memphis the last couple months. Do you buy that? Have there been stages in your life where you felt depressed? And to people that maybe deal with that, maybe it's just a mindset issue, maybe it's a personality issue, who knows? But what do you tell to people that are in a funk and they're trying to do more with their lives and they feel stuck?
I'll tell you, it's going to sound really weird when I say this. I've never had a day of depression in my life. I had literally 10 seconds of it when I turned 50. I remember waking up, seriously, I woke up, it hit me that I was 50, and I felt my whole body just sort of like drop. And I was like, oh my God. And a wave started to wash over me.
Yeah.
And then I said, screw this. It's nothing. I'm getting over this. Snapped out of it, went on. But I've had people in my family commit suicide. I have a lot of depression around me in my family. Had family that I've seen really struggle with it. And it's real. It's a dirty secret that people don't like to talk about. The more you get it out and share with it, the better it is. And I believe it's a chemical, I know for a fact it's a chemical issue.
Right.
And you just can't tell somebody who's depressed, well, be happy. You need medication in many cases, you need therapy, you need a support system. And so when people say, I'm down, I'm in a funk, you're going to go through this. And I think there are people like myself who sort of run through on a parallel, and we go up a little, like you're in an airplane cruising at 35,000 feet, maybe you go up or down 1,000 feet. And then there are people who are sort of down and up like this. Your wave right now, it's just a little bit up and down, but it'll settle out. There's that little secret ingredient that none of us knows about that brings us happiness. And you just got to find what that thing is. It'll happen. You're good, brother.
It's the one thing. This is like
it's
the curly
it's curly
City
from
Slickers thing. Yeah.
But again, for anybody out there who struggles with those sorts of feelings on a regular basis, while I don't deal with it myself, I've been direct support for at least 3 or 4 people in my family who've dealt with suicide, depression, what have you. And again, I've said it before. Anybody out there, always reach out to me if you ever have any depression issues or need anything. And I mean that. I'm not like trying to patronize, but like I think we go through cycles, and I don't think it's just the weather. I think we could put you in Florida in the sun for a month, and sometimes there's periods in our life that
could be
chemicals
bad for my skin.
No, you're
Jeannie Moody already made a joke. I feel like all anyone ever does is make fun of.
No.
Jonathan was making fun of my facial hair.
No, for the record, he was not making fun of your facial hair. He was complimenting my luscious.
Well, you have a great beard.
The word he used is luscious. This is Eastern European Jew right here at its best. I mean, this is like 3 hours of growth.
Textbook Eastern European Jew right here.
And for the record, Jonathan, he'll grow this beard by the time.
I'm growing it now.
By the time the Giants beat the Eagles, probably in preseason next year, when Daniel Jones and Saquon just destroy the Eagles.
Yeah, Gettleman's overseeing that for sure.
I will come and shave his beard.
So
that sounded bad.
That sounded bad.
No,
it'll be good. We'll do it on camera. We'll do it live. Let's shift on to something else. I want to talk about the mind of a GP, or what it's like inside the mind of a GP. So obviously you were a general dentist for a long time, 20 plus years, and perhaps I'm stating the obvious, but I think it's clear that the mindset of an average general dentist is a little bit different than the mindset of the average orthodontist. It seems that way.
Totally different.
Which is likely true of periodontists versus oral surgeons and so on and so forth. But specific to GPs and orthodontists, what do you think are the key differences? Having, you've lived in both camps, right?
I did.
You've flown both flags.
I have.
What are the key differences between orthodontists and general dentists?
So I'm still a fellow of the Academy of General Dentistry, right?
I
So
wouldn't admit that on camera.
it's okay.
It's out there now.
Hey, I'm like
What are
one
you
of
gonna
like
do?
3
Kidding.
fellow AGD. I'm a faggot, is what they call us. And I'm board certified ortho, and I'm like one of 3, which means absolutely nothing in this world.
Well-
but it gives me legitimacy around GPs when I can sit there and talk to them. The sad part of it is general practice over the last 27 years, I've watched it devolve. It went from a, I'm gonna do a craft.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, our time is up.
No, we're good. No, I get it.
Yeah, I kind of figured you did.
It's the boat.
Every time you reach for it, I'm thinking like, okay, he hates what this is going. It's over.
No, this is great. I
I'm
love
joking. So the general dental world has turned into nothing more, in my opinion. And I'm saying about 90% of the GPs I know. There are a few that I know that are amazing, but the overwhelming majority, it's about protecting their turf and monetary streams of revenue. Let's do all the implants we can, which peri-oral surgery used to do. Let's do all the Invisalign and other things we can do. And now we'll talk more about it, I know, later, about airway, but they're coming up with ways to monetize not at the benefit of their patients, but at the expense of their patients. And it's a very difficult mindset to get in. I think most people out there have already seen it. But they're doing their own implants, they're doing their own grafting. They're doing their own sinus lifts, they're doing their own ortho. And they all do it under the guise of convenience for the patient.
Right.
Which
Well,
is
how did it
ridiculous.
get there? Because I don't disagree at all. Like when I talk to young dentists, the whole other conversation is that they're all aiming at making the most money they can right when they
Yeah.
get it. That's the mindset, which is driven by debt. I think we'll talk about it in the next segment. But how did it get to this point where it's the dentist does everything, and even like there's the assumption, and I don't mean to sound judgy because some dentists might be watching this, and I apologize if what I'm saying doesn't sound true to you.
No, don't apologize
But
to
it seems true to me, and you can say it because you're
I got
journalist.
no problem. I got no problem saying that.
But it does
it's
seem like there's
that.
this air of when they do all these different things, they seem like they even know better. At least some of them do.
Well, there's
How
an
does it get to
intellectual
that
arrogance.
Okay.
In the world, they don't know, like the old adage, you don't know what you don't know. When I got out of ortho residency, I got on Facebook, and I saw somebody in one of these groups that I was a part of, an interdisciplinary group, talking about how good ortho he did. And I went out and said, you shouldn't be doing it. I was a GP for 20 years. I'm a fellow of the AGD. I didn't do ortho. I was part of a team. You should be part of a team. My ortho is just as good as any. I've seen bad orthodontists. I said, no, don't compare. And they want to use that and compare against the bad orthodontist. And I said, good, you give me your 10 last finishes and I'll bring it to one of my ortho groups and then we'll judge it. And suddenly he shut up. And my other friend who's a prosthodontist sent me a message and said, Glenn, don't do that. You're going to destroy your practice. And so and I said, screw that. If you're going to judge me on that, I'm going to go out. And what I've done is I've gone out and grown my practice from direct referral, not from the doctors, but from the community.
Right.
And I try to help my GPs, and some get it and some don't. And if they don't want to be a part of the ride of the best care for the patient. But why did it happen? Go back 60, 70 years. Who did everything? The general dentist. Right? There were no specialists, 60, 70, 80 years ago.
Right.
Then we got into the specialization stage, and then caries rates started to decrease. Dentistry solved caries, it solved periodontal disease, generally speaking, and all of a sudden, schools didn't reduce admission. They're turning out the same number of dentists for less decay, right? Less perio disease, so what are they going to do? They're going to look for other things to solve it. And the schools are selling them on that by bringing these programs in-house as well. So, again, if you're going to go into a profession, if you wanted to go into film photography today, developing, right, and you're turning out the same number of developers if such a thing existed.
Right.
You don't have any film, so what are you going to do? You're going to start looking for other streams of revenue, and companies have done that.
Yeah, I think there's probably 10 things we could talk about it in terms of what leads to all this. I don't think anyone under the age of 35, with fewer people getting married and for there to be more desire to live in highly populated urban areas, I think those areas in particular are really rife with people that are trying to do everything because they have to. Yeah. It's also rife for DSOs sort of potentially pushing people to do high production value, procedures. So I guess we all know this. This is all like obvious stuff. But
dentistry's gone from a craft, which it used to be. I remember my dad and my grandfather were both dentists, and they treated it like a craft. And nowadays it's a business, and it's never going to go back, and it's okay because that's what we do. That's what pays the bills. But you can make money with your patients or on your patients, and I feel like dentistry's now. They see people as dollar bills, not as people. And that's a problem. You don't do it that way. I don't do it that way. But the general dental community as a whole, No question, that's what they're doing right now.
Yeah, I think we're all at risk of that, and certainly I know some dentists that aren't like that.
Of course,
for sure. Yeah, and I wish there's something we could do, but we're not going to solve it right now.
The ones who refer to you are amazing GPs.
Yeah,
They
I agree.
Yeah,
They are.
The ones who
they
refer
know
to
what's
you.
good. They know what's good for their patients, right?
If they're working as a team, it's a different mindset.
Oh, we got a long message here. I'm going to see what that says. Curious if the schools are teaching much ortho at this point still. Many GP courses for aligners are available. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All I know is what's happening at Tennessee, and I don't think that there's just a huge amount of orthodontic education. I teach the development of occlusion class at Tennessee, and I try to talk about some of these things and the risks of basically this. I think this basic tenet that if a marketing company tells you something, it's so they can sell something. And I think that is self-evident, but I don't know that maybe that hits as clearly with certain groups.
It's so easy. Years ago, if you wanted to do ortho and you're a dentist, you had to go take a course on brackets.
Right.
Nowadays, you take a 2-day course, you start scanning patients, let a technician set it up for you, and give it to the patient.
Yeah.
And that's happened.
So it accelerates the process.
It happened way too easily.
Yeah.
It happened way too easily.
Yeah. Phenomenal. All right, let's do something special. We're going to do a little bit of a game. We've kind of gotten away from the games with this show. I want to do something kind of fun because it's you, Glenn, and I think you'll enjoy it. We're going to do No, not that. We're going to do a Girl Scout cookie taste test.
I'm glad you said Scout.
Yes. So I know that you do a lot of the buying of Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah.
I do as well. We need to build towers of our Girl Scout cookies and see who's.
I don't have a tower. I give them away to first responders.
Well, no, we do too, but you have them at a point where they could be towered.
Yeah,
No?
yeah. A couple of $100.
Genesis chapter 11. We make our own Tower of Babel.
Can we speak different languages?
We
and
can.
confuse each
We
other?
can. And so what I have here is I have a box of the now discontinued Savannah Smiles cookies.
I had no idea.
This is the original lemon Girl Scout cookie. We hold that. So these are selling for $20 a box on eBay right now. Unlike fine wine, they do not get better with age. They actually expired back in September. And then we have
the ring girl
Yeah,
walking
you're doing
through the
great.
ring.
You're doing great. Yeah. And then now we have the new lemon cookies. These are Lemon Ups. They're glazed with lemon flavoring and printed with inspiring messages like, I am a leader and I am strong.
This is like The Price is Right. Thank you, Johnny.
Yes. So what I want you to do, Glenn, is I want you to take a bite of the Savannah Smile. Here, if you'll hold the lemon up. So if you don't know what the Savannah Smile is, if you don't remember, and again, this would be $20 on eBay right now.
That's a big cookie.
I'm doing this for you. It's like a little powder sugar kind of covered thing versus that's the new cookie. So
and that has like a nutty thing in it, doesn't it?
No nuts. It's just like a lemon cookie. It's like a wafer with powdered sugar lemon on top.
So I have to taste
So take a bite of that. Yep, you're going to get to taste
Can I
it.
eat the whole thing?
Yeah, of course. Careful with the powdered sugar. Doug already says new ones win. Well, okay, we'll see.
Don't you hate it when it gets stuck in your beard?
It's the worst.
Yeah, I know.
I have to shave multiple times a day because my beard hair grows so fast.
I need to cleanse my palate.
So for a cookie that expired back in September, that's not bad.
September 19 is just fine.
Yeah, not bad.
Not September of 18.
No, this is 19. This is the last season.
And now...
And I have I'm a leader. What is yours?
I think mine says...
I'm a risk taker.
That's me.
All right.
Calculated risk.
All right. So, I've had the lemon up recently, so I know what it tastes like. Does anyone have an opinion? Have you had both of these? I actually think the Savannah Smiles is better.
I think latkes with applesauce is better than latkes with sour cream.
Which one do you prefer?
Oh, applesauce.
No, I'm talking about the cookies now. Which one? Savannah Smile, you like the old school or you like new school?
Old school for sure.
Yeah.
New school's just flat.
Yeah,
nothing there.
It tastes like a Walmart cookie.
You know what you'll appreciate? It's like vinyl versus CD.
Yeah, that's the vinyl versus CD.
It's
That's
vinyl
exactly
versus CD.
Actually, this might be like a downloadable MP3, like a low bit rate MP3.
Not low. Yeah.
So we have the old lemon cookies are much better. Yeah, I agree. So and I'm glad that we proved this on an orthodontic podcast.
Phenomenal job.
While we're going to the next segment, favorite Girl Scout cookie in general.
Phenomenal job.
Yeah, it was fun. My favorite, Samoa's Tagalongs, both of those.
Yeah, Samoa's.
Yeah, not a Thin Mints guy.
I gotta tell you, the chocolate's been getting like Samoa's have been going downhill.
Oh, I don't think so.
I think so.
I think they're perfect.
Okay, fine.
Hey, somebody liked what I said a Walmart cookie. Yeah. And now they have Fly Eagles Fly for no reason and nil.
That's
What's
a nil.
up a nil?
We're
talking Girl Scout cookies now.
Can't wait next year.
I know Anil does a lot of Girl
Scout
Scout cookies. Doug agrees to disagree on the cookies. Doug, I don't know what you see in the lemon ups. Maybe you need to come over here, try the Savannah Smiles. I'll bring it to
Doug's
dinner.
at a steakhouse. He's not coming back for cookies.
Well, I'm going to bring him the cookies. We're going to pass them around the table.
Can we toss?
Okay. So
Toss the cookies.
Glenn cannot help himself, can he?
Not around you, Kyle.
All right, let's shift into this. The state of orthodontics today. How do you think orthodontics is doing right now as a profession? Are we on the up and up, or are we headed in the wrong direction?
Ooh, I guess the question I'd ask back to you, Kyle, is if your son or daughter came to you and said, I want to be an orthodontist, what would you say to them? Would you steer them into it, or would you try to steer them out?
I'd say sure. I think relatively speaking, I think it's a great profession. I love the profession. I think there's a bright future in it, even as things maybe become more challenging. Certainly, I don't know what it's going to be like in 10 or 20 years, and my oldest is 8, right? So it's going to be a while. But as if let's say I had a 25-year-old, son or daughter right now, I'd say sure.
I'm mixed.
Yeah.
I really am mixed. Yeah, because if you sort of think back to what it used to be like and what it is now, it's definitely a different world. It's a lot. I'd say there seem to be a lot of people going to ortho who aren't really ready for business. Right, and it's kind of interesting because 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there would be no option. Now you've got the DSOs. You could go work as an associate in a DSO for the rest of your life and be happy if you don't ever want to own a practice.
Yep.
But it's hard work. I mean, it's getting to be an orthodontist is not easy.
It's true.
I think the state of the profession is in flux. I apologize. Usually I'll answer the question, but but it's hard because there's no real leadership in our and I don't mean it the way it comes out there, but I don't feel like we have control over our profession. I think we have control over our practices to some extent.
Yeah.
But innovation is happening so quickly. Things are progressing at such a fast rate. The economy has been through the ceiling the last decade. Anybody can run a practice when the economy is good. Gary Vaynerchuk says it all the time.
Yeah.
What happens when the economy tanks, which it will at some point? What's going to happen to the DSOs? Is this whole thing going to come collapsing? Are we going to go back to, like I remember after 2008, after 2001, everything consolidated a little bit, and I think the next recession is going to tell us a lot about where the next 20 years are going to be. That's just my take, but right now, I think more than anything, I think orthodontists need to come together. I think we need to support each other. I think we need to support our professional organizations. I think we need to be as strong as we can because in my 27 years, I can't remember as many people aligned, no pun intended, against a mission of a dental profession. And we got the GPs, some DSOs are okay, but DSOs, direct to consumer, and technology we don't even know exists right now that's going to come out in the next 5 years. So Let's stay together, let's protect ourselves, let's protect our patients. And I think if we do what's right for each other and what's right for the patient, how are you going to go wrong?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think Chris said it's both. I think that's the right answer. Is it's probably getting better for some and worse for others. And I guess I would say this is that my understanding of what you could do for a job, having a lovely mom and dad, but who one was an English teacher, one worked in agriculture, worked for companies basically, or for someone else. They didn't work for themselves. I don't think I had the vision of what you could do at like 18, 19, 20 if you had good ideas and a good personality. But I don't know that I was ready for that at those ages either. But certainly there's a much quicker way to success than going to dental school and orthodontics, taking on all the debt and all those sorts of things. So I think I would tell them only because I love orthodontics. I really love the industry. I love the community. I love what I do. And I think that's a kind of a pat answer. I just love orthodontics. But I really do. Like, I can't imagine something I would be more joyful to go and do every day.
Professional drummer.
Professional drummer is up there for sure.
Professional drummer.
What's the future of the Facebook groups? Obviously, you're really tied into those. So am I. Are they going to still be relevant in 5 years? Are we going to look back on Facebook groups and say, that was kind of fun?
I think everybody's going to join Grant Collins' TikTok group.
Oh man, that's probably true.
I think I had Girl Scouts selling me cookies the other day while watching his feed. It was like, and they're all talking like, "Hey, did you see the braces guy?" I'm like, "I'm right here, like I'm here, girls, come on." And
you're the braces senior.
Yeah, I'm brace. I don't know what I am.
You're not a grandfather yet, but you need to be the Grace's grandfather.
He's got 1.4 million followers.
Yeah, he does.
And so, where will it be? If you spend time with Gary Vaynerchuk, he's going to tell you that again. If you go to the Apple, or the apps, top 50 social media apps that are like coming out, and you play with them a little bit, you're going to find that Marco Polo or that TikTok before it really hits.
Right.
Personally, TikTok's going to go away at some point. It's a Gen Z product and younger. I don't know. I think I actually polled my group. I don't know if you remember. I polled and said, would you guys like to keep this group here, or would you like me to find another app that keeps you from going? Because Facebook is funny. People want to be on there, but they don't want to be on there.
Right.
And so the question is, do people see that this is a time dump and they just want to get away from it? Because people will go away for a year, but they always come back.
Yeah.
Hey, I took a break for a year. So I think they'll be around. I think until we come up with another way for people to get together on a regular basis, we don't want to practice alone.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I think overall, though, engagement, at least in my perception, last 6 months seems down. I think there's less. You're going to finish that lemon up.
Because you're keeping the good
I'm
ones over
keeping the
there.
Savannah Smiles over here. You can take the Savannah Smile. Just easy with the powdered sugar. I don't want to get on your shirt and everything.
It's your mic. You're worried about the mic.
We'll see. I guess I will say this. I've really enjoyed the Facebook groups and what they've meant to my practice and just my personal life. So I don't want to see them go away. You said something about how there's room for everyone in groups. What do you mean by that?
In terms of
you said this in the pre-interview. You may not remember.
No, I think no matter who you are or where you are in practice, there's a place for you.
Okay. Yeah.
You can be I think there's a responsibility for those of us who've been down a certain path. Oops, sorry, that was
Yeah.
I think the position you were in was perfect at the time.
Yep.
I think there's a responsibility for people who've been down the path to give back a little bit to the people around them, to try to help them better understand. It's funny because he's on the phone right next to us.
Yeah.
So, I think there's a lot of really good people out there who support from one side of the discussion, and then I think if you're a resident, you should be in these groups because it's going to jumpstart your way. And I'm not talking about just OrthoPreneurs. I'm talking about TDO. I'm talking about Pearls. Pragmatic. I mean, there's tons of groups you can be on. And if I was a resident, I would devote certain time of my day, every single day, to be on these groups and not going down the Facebook or Instagram. Well, if you're a resident, you're probably not living on Facebook. You're probably on Instagram
But I think there's a reality. Facebook becomes less cool with younger generations.
That's what I'm saying.
I think that they'll still seek it out because that's where the activity is. There's not really a great thing in place for Instagram or
I was
TikTok.
about to say that.
So
What
how we
happens
market
if
our
Instagram has
practices
groups?
might change.
If Instagram created groups,
I don't think Facebook would do it because they own Instagram. So it'd sort of like eliminate all this infrastructure they've built. And their recent ad campaigns are all built around their groups. So I think they intend to continue to focus on that. I think that's really where a lot of their continued activity is inside the groups.
So Chris asks, are there too many groups?
Oh, for sure.
I think there are a lot of groups, and here's where, if OrthoPreneurs ever became identical to another group, I would just seek that other group out and say, hey, let's just join together. But the unique thing is, whether you're at Pearls, Cosmos with Scott Fry, Digital Orthodontist, Pragmatic, OrthoPreneurs, every one of them has a very different feel. And what people out there don't know, which is kind of a fun story for Jason, myself, and Brian Anderson, is the day that Ortho 101 imploded and Ben said, I'm done. Those three groups started almost identically, and me, Jason, and Brian got together virtually and said, here's what's going to happen. Pearls is going to be about clinical, OrthoPreneurs is going to be about management, and Club Ortho is going to be about just going to hang out, jokes, fun stuff, what have you. Right. And we sent it out. We said the same thing and sent it to all three groups, that this is the way it's going to be. And I think for the most part, they've kind of stayed that way, where they've done their own thing. If we were all the same, then we should just join up. But I think, one group is run by committee, one group is run by an individual, one group is focusing on the digital world. And I think if you try to bring them together in the format that Facebook allows, it will become way too jumbled. Yeah. Because not everybody's looking for clinical, and not everybody's looking for business. Sometimes they just want some digital, and they don't want to scroll through 1,000 feeds.
Yeah,
and if Facebook ever allowed like a hierarchy kind of thing, that would be awesome, because then you could join up being like Orthodontics, right? And you could click where you want to go that day. But I don't think that's happening.
I don't think it's how entertainment is consumed any longer. I think it is more about the specific niche that you want, and it's sort of like going from one channel to 3 channels to cable to now satellite, and really it's like online now.
The question I would answer Chris is when are Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, and all those going to come together? And they're not, because each one has its own mission.
Right. Well, I enjoy them. I hope you do too. You're sitting here on a Friday night watching this on a Facebook group, so I think you like it somewhat. Let's talk about this. This is something that I think when your name comes up, both in positive and negative ways.
Chris and Amanda.
Yeah, Chris and Amanda, 2 of my favorites. Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
Your name comes up, not synonymous with, but connected with sleep and airway-focused orthodontics. It's a controversial topic these days. There's groups that are really against that and strongly against it.
It shouldn't be controversial. There's
so
enough
that's why I'm going to ask
there's literature out there.
So what is your protocol for treating patients in an airway-focused way, if you would even use that terminology, and why shouldn't it be controversial?
Okay. So there's two major points about airway ortho, and I will come up front here and say I'm not the world's expert on it. I try to follow leaders and learn from them, and it's not used as a revenue stream in my practice, but there's two things you need to keep in mind. Number one, as I posted today in OrthoPreneurs, there is a movement out there in the GP and some of the myofunctional world about...
Don't say any brand names.
I'm not saying any brand names, Kafagla. There are groups out there saying orthodontists don't know what they're doing. They don't know anything about growth and development. Right. They don't buy this airway stuff. They somehow sense the infighting that goes on in our industry, and they say we need to take this. An online CE course just launched for general dentists that is going crazy on hundreds of hours of basically lecture teaching them how they should take over airway themselves. So I don't mind burning bridges in that world, and so I do a lot of YouTube videos on educating the public on what should they be looking for. And when you sell a rubber appliance to a person for $6.50 to... Becca Backow told me somebody told me.
You say Becca if you want.
I'm going to leave Becca out of this.
They go for a lot.
I will just tell you, in my town, $6,500 for one rubber appliance, and they have a list of other things that come with it, but it's nothing significant. Double the price of phase 1 treatment for that. So that's the first fight we've got on our hands, is that they're trying to take our growth and development away from us and try to take that over. And the second part about it, in my practice, I'm part of a team, right? And I say this over and over again, no one person can solve pediatric sleep disorder breathing. You can't. I have a group that I meet with once every 6 weeks in Dallas. We have ENTs, pediatricians, pediatric dentists, myofunctional therapists, oral surgeons, myself, another orthodontist, and we just sit and we go through literature and we talk about it and we figure out how to dovetail well with each other. So a kid comes into my office, I ask the University of Michigan Pediatric Neurology Questionnaire, the first page, about symptoms. If there are no symptoms and we look on our CBCT and we don't see anything at all, we move on. Kid's got giant adenoids and you can see it. You got to ask mom, are you sure that they don't snore? Are you sure they don't wet the bed? Are you sure, and is she in denial, or is he keeping it from me? And I don't push. And if they say no, they don't, I say great. Because if we could find something that would help make them healthier down the road, that's great. Do me a favor, when I see you in 6 months, pay attention, let me know if you see something. And so I'd say every single airway case that I treat gets referred out to my ENT for a consult, gets referred to my myofunctional therapist for a consult. And we meet, we talk as a team. This is not some willy-nilly, like, oh cool, another phase 1 case. It is based on literature, and I've had dozens, if not hundreds, of moms and dads say to me, hey, and unsolicited, I got to tell you, doc, our lives have changed. My kid doesn't wet the bed anymore. I had a mom come to me the other day and say her daughter's anxiety went away. I'm like, come on, seriously? She said, yeah, once you put the expander in and she got the tonsils out, she stopped worrying. We were going to put her on medication, and now she's totally fine. That's not my words, that's the mother's. And I'm not even asking, they're volunteering. So I understand it can be controversial, but when you see dozens and dozens and dozens, literally every single time you diagnose it appropriately and you get them to the right team, and these kids, they're changing. Their eyelids don't look as puffy underneath. They're doing better in school. We can't cure ADHD, okay? That's what people, get your kid into me, they're going to cure ADHD. It's BS. But the symptoms of being overtired match the symptoms of ADHD, right? You can't focus, you're like this all the time, you're not attentive. And the worst part is, we give kids with ADHD, of which I have 2, surprise, right? You put them on some sort of stimulant and it has an opposite effect. It calms them down. Well, what happens when you give a kid who's overtired a stimulant? They get better. So you can't even use that as your diagnostic criteria. So you look on a CBCT, you have the ENT look up the nose, which mine does with a flexible little thing real quickly, looks up, visualizes the adenoids and tonsils. If there's a problem, they deal with it. But if he looks and says adenoids and tonsils look fine, and there's no other airway, I'm not touching them. We'll find the solution. Maybe the myofunctional therapist sees something with the way they're swallowing or what have you. But in kids and in adults, I've personally had friends pass away from sleep apnea. Right. It's not a joke. Some say Tom Petty, look at him, 66 years old, dies in his sleep, retrognathic. we've seen this over and over and over again. And I once had a 35-year-old patient when I was a general dentist. I sedated him for dentistry. He had a pulse ox on. Every time he'd fall asleep, his pulse ox, his oxygen would drop to 81, 82. I'd shake him, wake him up. And I told him at the next appointment when he was cogent, I said, please go see a doctor about this. I saw his wife for a cleaning about 3 months later. I said, how's he doing? Did he get to the doctor? And he had died in his sleep in between. So this is a real thing. And if you can make kids healthier long term, not based on which doctor science, but stuff out of Stanford, stuff out of Michigan, stuff out of legitimate sleep centers that show us what's going on, do it. If anybody has a question, reach out to me. I don't teach this on behalf of any company. And I will tell you, if you ask my mentor, Rebecca Bacow, we had conversations for a solid 6 years on this before I bought in. I heard about this first 10 years ago when I was a GP from Jeff Rouse in San Antonio. And I said, no, it's BS. And I went on for literally 6 years saying it was BS until one day Becca finally convinced me on the phone. And then I'd taken an expander off a kid, and the mom said to me, thanks so much, this is amazing. I said, well, I just straightened her teeth. And she said, no. She doesn't wet the bed anymore. And I wasn't even looking for it. And like that day, it just clicked, and I said, I got to be on the lookout for this more. And it's legit.
So I think, great stuff in there. I think if I'm on the side of being very critical of some of this sounds a little specious. Some of it sounds a little bit like, a little bit ascientific. I mean, in the sense that, well, this one mom said that this happened, or I've noticed this one time this happened. I know there is certainly some research, but you talk about like the AAO white paper, like what their kind of conclusion
Travesty.
is. So you're not a fan of the white paper?
I'm not a fan. Ask anybody who's legitimately followed the science. We just saw Ron Ronconi talk about, what did he say about the AAO, about CBCTs? Originally came out with a white paper that orthodontists should not be allowed to read a CBCT. He showed it that today, and then they came back and said, what are you talking about? And they rescinded that white paper. I'm in support of the AAO. I don't want this to be misconstrued in a general sense, but that white paper, if you look at the literature from Guy Mignot and all the fathers of airway from Stanford and other places, the conclusions that are drawn are just not scientifically valid. There are legitimate papers in peer-reviewed scientific journals that state quite clearly cause and effect. Now the mom's talking to me, that just kind of like makes me feel good. I wouldn't do it for that reason. You would do it because you take CBCTs and you see wide open airways after you're done treating these kids. And even that's anecdotal.
So to that, though, I mean, I think one thing that gets confounded a lot when I hear people talk about how the airway gets bigger visually, or even volumetrically, or at the minimum constriction it gets larger.
Or with a sleep study.
But that happens without any treatment as people age. It happens,
Not over a 6-month period, it doesn't.
Well, not over. Well, it would. There would be some increase.
That's like saying if I didn't take my vitamin, what would happen, right? If something works, it's very, very difficult to prove to people that without that intervention, something bad would have happened, right? Like, so the question is, if we didn't do anything, what would happen 3 years from now? Who's to say it wouldn't get better? But, it's it's like saying, I'm not going to give you these pills because you're sick, and let's just see what happens. You might get better and say, you see, I told you you didn't need those pills, but that's not science.
No, I get the point. I mean, I think it seems reasonable that if you were to expand, it could only help from an airway perspective. And it seems that if we could correct a class 2 to 1, it could only help. I just don't know that it seems is solid enough for me.
So go back to 2008, Guy Mignot, right? He just recently passed in the last year. Were you at that airway meeting at Stanford?
No.
For RD? He died about a year ago. We got to see him speak last March, and he died probably 3-4 months afterwards, I think. And he cited a paper from 2008 that was done at Stanford, pretty reputable place. They had 31 kids, polysomnography, 16 got tonsils and adenoids, 15 got expansion. And why expansion? Obviously, you widen the palate, you widen the nasal floor. They put them back to a sleep, full clinical polysomnography. Of the 31 kids, one was cured. They used the word cured. The one had tonsils and adenoids. They then took the 15 and flipped them. When they were all done, so the 15 had adenoids and tonsils got expansion, the 15 got expansion got adenoids and tonsils. They put them through another clinical polysomnography. 30 of 30 were cured, gone. Now, sleep apnea is the extreme side of sleep disordered breathing spectrum, but it showed that when you do tonsils and adenoids, it doesn't always solve it, and when you do, it rarely solves it, and there's studies to show that tonsils and adenoids without expansion actually comes back, because nobody really knows, is the nasal passage narrow so everything gets clogged up, or was it clogged up so they breathe differently and the face gets longer? So you need to address both things happen. And so when 30 out of 30 are cured by an intervention of 2 things, the statement in the paper says until we can prove otherwise, that's the way you should treat people. We don't know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, to be honest with everybody out there, nobody knows all the answers. Right now, it's evolving, it's growing. The literature is 20, 30 years old, some of it, but somehow the physicians don't know about it. And so it's not getting the attention it should. It's starting to, but unfortunately, that attention's really taking off in the side of the world that's like all, or the stuff that's just not in any way literature-based. You're not going to find it in any peer-reviewed journal. And that's what scares me, is that unless somebody legitimate like orthodontists start taking this on and really driving the research, which we can do from an oral-based approach to it, that group is going to take it over, and then it's going to be the Wild West where everybody's getting this rubber appliance for $6,000 to $8,000, and we're sitting on the sidelines screaming, "What about us?" Yeah. And we've been relegated to nothingness.
Well, let's really quickly talk about that company that sells. We're not going to say the name, but a couple of their statements off maybe some of their claims that it could improve grades, focus, and behavior, make a child a better version of themselves. It sounds a little bit like some things you're saying. Yeah, or going to Sunday school.
Every one of those things is true about going to synagogue.
So I guess my big question about all this, and we're running out of time, I think, but is I want to make sure that we as orthos are not taking the easy road out when it comes to airway and sort of, basically selling like a small piece of plastic, right, and selling that as that's how it works. And so the way that you're doing it, to those that are critical, maybe when they hear airway-friendly orthodontics, and you may not even use that term.
And I don't use that term in my practice.
Is that it's more complicated for you, but it seems to subsist mostly of an expansion with then using your multidisciplinary approach. Is that fair?
It's really me supporting
questionnaire, and then
it's diagnosis, and then getting them. There are times I don't do a thing. It might be just a tongue tie that they have no adenoid or tonsil issues, but they're not swallowing right. I send them to the myofunctional therapist. They get their...
So we need more of those, because I don't even have one in Memphis. So that's a whole other side conversation. I wish I had
Anybody has a question, reach out. Just build a team and learn from each other. And again, the piece of plastic is great for kids who I can't treat. Yeah. If they're 4 years old and I can't treat them, give them the piece of plastic, let them get used to it, and then,
Yeah, and Eric says, I think this is true too, is that this idea that it's an alternative to orthodontics, that a piece of plastic can be an alternative to orthodontics is really misleading. Yeah. Let's jump into this. We're going to talk a little bit about classic rock, because why not?
There's 2 podcasts going on.
I know, this is great. Favorite classic rock bands, who do you like?
Oh, Zeppelin.
Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin
it's on my list.
Led Zeppelin's got to be... How far back goes classic?
I think classic rock is like 60s to early 80s. It's
60s?
like the classic, like...
Easy. Zeppelin, Van Halen. Van Halen's just... Van
Halen, nice.
Yeah,
okay.
Van Halen's like just... And, of course, Rolling Stones.
So mine's Beatles, Zeppelin, and Floyd. Favorite concert you've been to?
First concert I ever went to. 16 years old, 10th row, center stage, Prince, Purple Rain. Like, how do you get better than...
That's great.
First concert ever, and Eddie Murphy came up on stage.
Did he really?
Yeah, he was on Long Island. He was at Nassau Coliseum. Eddie Murphy came down on stage and did a dead-on Prince imitation, like he used to do on SNL. Best concert I've ever been to. Followed closely by Pink Floyd, The Wall.
Oh, you saw that too?
Oh, yeah,
wow.
That's pretty cool.
So best concert I saw was probably as an 18-year-old Metallica front row. It's pretty great.
God.
Paul McCartney's good. Actually, Coldplay was fantastic.
Really?
Yeah, actually. They can really fill the arena and do it right. Let's jump into our last 3 questions. We're going to talk about younger and older doctors. Education costs, we've kind of touched at it a little bit right now. We know that if you're a resident out there, this is probably the biggest issue for you is education costs. 2019 average dental school graduates with almost $300,000 of dental school debt. Of course, you add on to that orthodontics, especially some of the expensive schools.
That's just dental school? $300,000?
$300,000.
Wow.
It could be $600,000-$700,000 after that. We know this orthodontist Mike Maru that there was a Forbes article over. I think it was $1 million in debt. It doesn't seem like there's a plan to pay it off. So there's some of that conversation.
Plan, but it's a government-based plan that they have that loophole and
sure. Well, that's a whole other conversation.
That's another conversation.
But you described this as nearly criminal in nature.
Not the student loan, not the student side of it, but the...
Oh, yeah, just the whole system that produces $600,000
I really think it is.
What can be done about it, though?
Well, Chris Feldman has helped me a tremendous amount in trying not to be binary, right? That's like it's been a problem for me, is being yes or no, black and white. And so, thank you, Chris, for that, by the way. And when I first came out and said, that it's almost like criminal that this is going on, there are many people who said, you know what, they don't have to go to school. right? They can go do something else. But it's kind of like saying, you said how much you love doing ortho. So great, don't do it because it costs so much money.
Yeah.
But if you look at the way costs have gone up in our lives for houses, cars, food, tuition has just been ridiculous. It's outpaced, and they can get away with it because of student loans. If student loans didn't exist, like you ask Ron Coney about when he went to school, he was a bartender. That's how he made his way through Harvard. He made money, and I guess he got paid when he went to Harvard.
I didn't know that. That's
yeah,
great.
but he was a bartender. I asked him if he could make an old fashioned. He said he probably could. But back in the day, my father didn't have student loans. Once student loans became available, all of a sudden, hey, Kyle, you want to be an orthodontist? Go take out student loans, and we can keep raising the prices, and you can keep getting the money, and don't worry about it. You'll be able to pay it off. And, at the end of the day, every single ortho program out there is attached in some way, shape, or form to a business school somewhere. There should be, and I've heard people on both sides of the argument, but I think there should be one class per semester in ortho residency that teaches you something about business. Not that guy comes in who's got a good practice and talks to you one day. It should be like here's what a pro forma is. Here's how you set up a business plan. Here's how you get a CPA. Here's how you, like all the basic 101. Give these guys and gals a fighting chance to pay back $800,000.
Yeah.
And it serves everybody better, because if they can pay off their loan, the economy does better.
So then maybe as orthodontists, what we need to do is volunteer to go back to dental schools and teach business.
No, I don't mean it like, though you could, and I've already done that.
It'd be great to assume that they could get business teachers in, but I mean, short of them actually doing that, it might be possible to just go volunteer and do it.
All you do is, like Nova has a business school. They should make an arrangement with the business school. Say, look, we want one professor, one time every 3 weeks, that we can bring the class in, get 1 hour of CE from industrial psychology, hiring, HR, leadership, management. We don't get any of that in school, and to be quite honest, a lot of our academics who teach us ortho are there because they're not out in the real world. So we're not fostering that business and craft. We're getting the technical, we're not getting the business.
Well, and as you alluded to earlier, is that dentistry used to be a craft and now it's kind of a business. So there needs to be certainly more training. No one's going to disagree with that. It's obviously a very popular statement. There's lots of absolutely's in all caps. And
would you say that was a phenomenal?
That was a phenomenal statement, yeah. So take
For those of you who came in late, every time one of us says phenomenal, you got to drink your vodka.
We sort of forgot about that during the whole 30 minutes of airway discussion.
Well, I was talking, you ate the cookie, so it was
I think
phenomenal.
I actually had an
right
apneic event during our sleep apnea conversation. But I'm better now. So
it's okay.
Get my CPAP on. So let's talk about this. You talked about the rise of direct-to-consumer and DSOs. You said, and if I misquote you, sorry, but that it's the fault of older doctors for allowing DTC and DSOs to grow on their watch.
Man, you just took that and twisted it on purpose.
I did not twist it. This is like word for word.
No.
So do you think that's fair, though? And what could they have done differently?
If that's what I said, it's not what I meant. It came out the wrong way. What I say in my soapbox moment is, if you speak to orthodontists who practiced 40, 50 years ago, many times they would say, hey, just take over my practice and I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
I'll sell you my house or whatever it's in, take over my practice. Then the baby boomers oversaw the largest growth of income our country's ever seen. In housing, in stocks. Yeah, 2008 sucked, 2001 sucked, but they did okay for themselves. Their DSOs didn't exist. It was all fee for service. They got referrals from the general dentist. They had great lives, and yet when they go to sell their practices, they squeeze as hard as they can on these young docs to get every last penny out. And the rise of Invisalign as a GP product, DSOs, insurances, all happened on the last watch. And I'm not saying that they could have done anything different. They did the best they could in what they had. But if we want to say who's culpable and where we find ourselves today, it's not the guys and gals getting out in the last 5 or 10 years. And again, a friend of mine says that when you try to buy an older practice, they're riding their dinosaurs into extinction. And again, I think there needs to be a little bit more understanding and a little bit more compassion from that generation of orthodontists to the younger orthodontists to understand what they're dealing with was started on their watch. And that's never said, and it's wrong. And I think that I'm not saying they should cut anybody a break, but they pretend as if, I don't know what you guys are moaning about because orthodontics is a great profession. And quite honestly, it is a great profession, but it's a way tougher for the things that happened over the last 25 years. And I think there needs to be a little homage paid to that.
Well said. You got a preach. You got like a hallelujah there. It's not so bad, huh? Yeah. I do think there is sort of a classic line of the last 10 years that is, why aren't you starting your own practice? Why aren't you trying to buy your own practice? Why are you going to work in a pediatric office? Why are you working in a DSO? And it's like, why don't you offer me an opportunity? So,
are you hiring? Would you like to bring me on? No. I'm not ready. I'm 78 years old, and I'm going to be working at least another 15 years.
Yeah. Sorry for the 78-year-olds out there who were offended by that previous
If you're going to work
statement.
till you're 93, God bless you.
Yeah, right. And it's going to be the challenge. As a 35-year-old, I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. And then once I'm 70, I'm 75, I know I'm going to be holding on,
You can hold on, but you can be fair.
Yeah.
You can hold on and give somebody a chance to get their foot in the door and say, you know what, I've done pretty well. Let the next generation, because here's the kicker, the 78-year-old orthodontist didn't come into a world where the orthodontists were working until 78. They were retiring at 55, 60, 65 years of age. And they're holding on a whole lot longer with a lot more wealth established over that time period. And they should give the younger orthodontists a bit of a chance. Unless they're really hurting for money, then they should seek the help to help them get what they need.
Sure, yeah. It's also hard to expect people not to sell to a DSO if they're going to get significantly more money for the practice at that point. So it's sort of a perfect storm of things that are really bad for young orthodontists and residents.
And you asked earlier, what is the future of orthodontics? We don't know.
Yeah, it's true. Well, now after this conversation, I feel like I should tell Charlie not to do it. So Charlie, if you're out there watching at the age of 8, he was watching
what
earlier,
time is it?
Actually. It's like 8 o'clock there. So yeah, he's probably watching. We're almost done. We're going to go through some rapid fire questions of some special events and announcements that you have coming up. Give me about 45 seconds on each. OrthoPreneurs Summit, Thursday, October 15th through the 17th at the Fairmont Austin, the lovely Fairmont Austin, the legendary Fairmont Austin, the almost brand new Fairmont Austin. Last year, Relapse with the Glenn Krieger cameo and guitar. Probably my favorite moment of that entire meeting.
Thank you to Relapse for letting me play. I suck, but it was awesome.
I think you did a great job.
Thanks,
I think
man.
anyone in the audience would have thought you actually don't suck. Anything more like that we can expect this year?
Yeah, a lot more. We have Relapse. We got Relapse playing Stubbs, by the way.
Relapse.
Yeah, it's Relapse. So October 15th to 17th, we have 781 people registered already with 8 months to go. We're going to cap it around 1,000. It's not going to be opened up after we close it down. We've got Stubbs, we've got Bangers, which is like a killer, just like a barbecue joint, but like way better than that. And we're going to have surprises. If you like the surprises that we had for you last year, it's going to be even better.
I wish Stefan was here to describe Bangers and Stubbs. Those both sound like clubs that he would...
Stefan?
Yeah, that he could describe and make really funny.
Yeah, but
so Charlie's not watching because he's watching Lego Masters. You can't blame him. But go ahead.
I don't blame him at all. But it's going to be an amazing meeting. The speakers are great. Just go to opsummit2020.com to register.
Yep.
And like it's Team Track closed ages ago, Spouse Track is still open, and there's a Spouses Tour that we're going to limit to about 20 to 30 people. That's going to be really, really fun. And like I said, and I think there's a Sunday morning brunch lecture by Inbrace that you got to stay around for. But Saturday night, if you come, for the 781 of you out there registered, do not leave early Saturday night. We have a crazy night planned for you. So I promise, my vision, why I made this meeting, I felt that working folks deserved a GORP. And that's what we've got, right?
It is GORP for slightly older orthodontists,
it
right?
is.
Yeah, who are still young at their heart. I was going to say, and then I totally lost my train of thought. Yeah, great meeting. Love the meeting. If you've never been to the meeting, definitely go to the meeting. Oh, the spouses thing. So Anna did that last year and loved it. So the tour was really well put together.
Nice.
It sounds like an advertisement. I was not asked to do this, but here we are.
But thank you. I appreciate it.
Let's talk quickly. You said you have a surprise that's coming out. Do you still have a surprise?
I don't have a surprise yet.
Okay.
I'm working on a surprise.
Okay, you don't want to talk about how about your podcast?
I'm trying to think about what surprise.
You wrote down you had a surprise coming out.
I do have a surprise coming out, but I forget what it is.
Anna says that the spouses tour was phenomenal last year.
Thank you. And we had a great time having you, Anna. And hopefully you'll be on it again this year. I did have a surprise, and I totally forgot what that surprise was.
If it comes to you in the next 5 to 10 minutes.
Your sleep apnea thing? That moment is here for me, so I'm
oh
sorry.
my gosh. So let's jump into the TDO top 5. We're going to let people go and enjoy the rest of their weekend. Your lightning round. These are quick answers, okay?
Let's get it.
If you weren't an orthodontist, Glenn, what would you be?
Entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur. Yeah, that sounds right. In 2 to 3 words, what is your favorite thing about being an orthodontist?
Being able to impact people's ego, make them feel better about themselves.
Right on. Love it. What's the one thing you wish you'd known sooner as a resident? Which is maybe a silly question to ask because you were, 40 something, but I mean, you'd already kind of figured out some of this stuff, I would think.
Yeah, but it's funny, when you come to orthodontics, it's a totally different skill set.
Fair.
One more time, what's the one
What's
thing?
one thing you wish you'd known sooner as a resident or as a young orthodontist?
How to focus my attention on going out to the public instead of trying to go to the general dentist.
Interesting. Yeah. What is your, who is your biggest influence and why?
No disrespect to my dad, but my grandfather, his dad. I love my dad. He's a huge influence on me. But my father's father, immigrant from Germany.
What was his name?
Abe.
Abe.
His real name came over in ¡38, Adolf. Wasn't a big name in the U.S.
Sorry, I asked.
Yeah, like Abe Froman, Sausage King of Chicago.
Yeah.
My grandfather, Abe Krieger, came over in '38 from Germany, escaping the Nazis. Self-made man, built an amazing business, a devout man till the day he died, and great lessons on every person in the family. I think of him literally every day.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It was actually a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where the German inventor, he had a dog named Adolf, and it was kind of
Was
a
that the
problem.
one Larry got
It's
accused
like just
of?
last episode.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I digress
That's
many
only
times.
4 questions.
I know. 5th question. What do you want to be remembered by, Glenn?
The people I helped.
All right. That's good. It's great.
I hope I have a positive influence on everybody whose life. That's one of my affirmations every day. Be a positive influence on every life you touch.
That's good. You obviously influence a lot of people, help a lot of people. You give just about every day, it seems like. So I'm inspired by you on the days in January, February. I'm not doing a whole lot. I look and then you've written this whole tome on these really inspirational things.
Thanks, man.
Like, how does Glenn do that? So,
by the way, I just want to say to everybody watching out there, first, thanks for being there. But look how freaking gorgeous
It's
that
pretty.
looks. That
It's
looks
really
like
pretty.
a backdrop.
Yeah, for those of you that went through that initial sun in your eyes,
this is what we were waiting for.
This is what we were waiting
I got
on.
an aircraft carrier on my left shoulder.
Yeah, this is great, huh?
That's awesome.
So we're going to clap it up for Dr. Glenn Krieger for being on the show. There you go. That's how that works.
Thank you.
You ever wonder what my clap app looks like? That's it. That's all. It looks like 2 hands, literally. I also have a gift for you. So this is a
gift for
surprise.
me?
This is my surprise for you. So I had this image that you were a fan of pro wrestling, and so I brought 2 options, and I asked you, and you literally said,
Macho Man Savage.
who did you say was your favorite wrestler?
Ultimate Warrior, man.
How about this?
Oh,
I got some Ultimate Warrior socks.
and I'm proud to say, this is my 2nd pair of Ultimate Warrior socks.
Oh, you have another?
This is awesome.
Do you have Hulk Hogan?
I don't.
So I'll give you Hulk Hogan.
Oh my
How's it
God,
sound?
this is awesome.
And then I'm gonna. So
Can
here's
you
what
be
I want to do.
Andre? Can I hold
I know
you?
Andre John's really your favorite guy.
He really
I didn't
is.
know Andre was Jewish.
The world's largest Jew.
Okay, that's
great.
We're not going to fact check that.
Like every
but it's
grandmother on earth told their Jewish grandchild, Andre the Giant is Jewish.
possible. So we're going to wear these tonight to dinner if that's okay with you.
Totally.
I
mean, that is.
Yeah. So thank you for doing the show. All right, register now. OP Summit. We already talked about that.
OPSummit2020.com.
October 15th through 17th. Be there. I'll be there. It'll be a great time.
Faglamania.
Faglamania will be in full effect, brother. OrthoPreneurs RD, we're in this group. We should probably have talked about that more, but if someone was interested, this is a paid, geographically exclusive group. I've never been in a group with as much CE and activity.
You're a member?
Of OrthoPreneurs RD?
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
Why, yes, I'm a member.
Well, yes, I'm also a member.
Yeah.
Where can people sign up if they're interested? Obviously, some people will be blocked by geography, but where could they go?
Yeah, so just if you're interested in OrthoPreneurs RD, it's a geographically exclusive group. We do a lot of CE on-site stuff like this, private conversations to grow, leadership management. It's a fun, inspiring place to be, hopefully, for people who are members. We have about 135 members now. Just go to the OrthoPreneurs RD group on Facebook, click to apply, wheels will get set in motion, and if your area is available, right on. If it's not, we keep a list if people drop out, but nobody leaves, so it's been good.
I never say anything that I don't believe. It's a great group.
Thanks,
so
man.
I highly recommend it
Appreciate
if you're not in one, and I think there is value to these groups like this.
Well,
There's
I try
great
to
value in the
make
free
sure of
groups too. But you can see Glenn or catch Glenn in person at the AAO. He's going to be speaking at the Cavo Curb booth. His wildly successful podcast can also be found wherever podcasts are sold. Turns out that they're free, so the price on
Somebody reached
podcasts
out
is
to me
pretty
the other
good.
day about selling podcasts.
Well,
not for mine.
Is that your surprise? No.
No, I'm not selling my podcast.
Good.
I do. I now I remember the surprise.
Great.
I can't tell you about it, but Mike Vidican,
Okay.
who he runs OrthoPreneurs Summit with me.
Okay.
We have something very special that keep your eyes out. I don't want to ruin it, but I'll say if you were a fan of HQ, there's going to be something special for orthodontists.
Sweet. I am a fan of HQ. I love trivia in all forms, so this is great. You can see me if you want to, and you may not want to. You've already seen enough of me. But hey, Friday, April 3rd in Nashville, Tennessee, there's a 3M Oral Care event that I really want you to go to. I'll be speaking. I'll also be doing a live Digital Orthodontist live interview. The first one I'm going to have done with an audience, although we did have two men that just, the
whole time this is going on, literally 3 feet from us are two guys having a conversation. And if you could only, can you pan that and show them what
I'll show it here in a second when we get done, because I want the mic to get.
They could have sat 150 feet away.
There's at least 6,000 square feet that they could have inhabited,
and
but they literally sat like right next to us.
2 feet from us drinking beer,
and I just did not feel like being rude enough to say, what are you doing? But the one guy answered a phone call as he was drinking his beer. He actually took his chair, pulled it away, and then he sat on the couch that was even closer.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre. But come see me. 3M Oral Care, talk to your rep. April 3rd in Nashville. Where would you rather be than Nashville on April 3rd? It's March Madness that weekend. Come see me. I'll also be at the AAO speaking Saturday, May 2nd, like anyone's putting in their calendar. Neon Canvas will be there. I'll be at the booth a lot. Relapse is playing a party for the Pearls group Saturday night. That'll be fun. If you listen to this on Apple Podcasts, first, thank you. Please subscribe and give us a 5-star review. Do the same for Glenn as well on his amazing podcast.
Thank you.
Keep talking that I'm going to have Dr. Grant Collins on. He's the hottest thing going right now.
You can't get him.
We have. Oh, he says he wants to be on the show. I want him on the show.
I want him on the show.
We just haven't been able to connect. And so he has promised me he's going to do the podcast with me. We're going to try and do it on Instagram because obviously, and I can't dance.
You'll have a crowd of like 400 12-year-olds.
It's going to be great. They're going to enjoy it. It's going to be awesome.
It's amazing how everybody knows who he is.
Sometime in March, we're going to do that. It is truly amazing. It's one of the few things I really can't understand.
I want to make a retainer case change.
Yep. You want digital transition?
When it goes like this and it just changes.
We're going to work on that. But thanks for spending your Friday night with me. I know you could have been doing many other things, and there was a good number of you out there. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully you had a good week. And, man, Glenn and I think we had a good time, right? We're going to go eat some Texas-sized steaks here in California.
I'm not.
Are you not having steak?
I can't. It's not kosher.
Steak is not kosher?
That's another episode. We're going to get into that. Some steak is. It's got to be slaughtered by the rabbi, different meat.
Man, that's tough.
I mean, it's not tough. Watching
you eat a steak is tough. It's
tough for me to watch you eat a steak.
Okay, well that's what I'm saying.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not short on meals, folks. I'm doing okay.
No, you look good. You look well. Well, I thought we were gonna have steak together. Now I feel a little sad.
Maybe I'll have some salmon.
I'll forego the steak just for you.
You won't.
No, I'm gonna have a steak.
No, you're gonna have a steak.
Anyway, from all of us here at the Digital Orthodontist Live, I'm Dr. Kyle Fagala signing off. Here's our theme song. I kind of hate that our friends left. I was hoping to bring them onto the camera. Let me see if I can show you how big this area is that we're at before we go eat our steaks. Let's see. Just don't pull the mic free. So
they could sit here. You can. Why don't you put it back down?
There it goes.
And just loosen that.
I had to clear it.
All you got to do is loosen.
Oh yeah, you're right.
This.
Look at all the space they had.
Look at everything they got.
Look at all that space.
Yeah,
and they sat right there.
Yeah,
right there.
Literally right there, and they could have sat all
the
way over there, or all the way over there. Like they could have sat everywhere.
Could have sat anywhere. You want to get in close? Bye, everybody. See, look at that view. Look at that.
That's all. We should just walk off set and let everybody just kind of watch that.
Look at that. We're gonna zoom it in over there.
God bless America.
That is really beautiful, huh? All right. Good night, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.